Well, welcome back to the Success Blueprint. We have our buddy here, Adam Cothes, and we ended on this last one of where hard work meets luck. And Adam's got one of the coolest just ideas and programs and things that we've seen. But before we get to that, we'll kind of build to that in a second. So Adam, so you're working hard, you're grinding, luck starts happening, these really positive things start happening. So let's take it from there.
Yeah, so we're in the middle of COVID. By the way, at this time, as a side note, I got my first overseas employee. And this is about 6 years ago. I got my first overseas employee, and I didn't know what to do with an overseas employee. I had an American employee, but at the time, this guy was extremely affordable, and so I put him on the agent referral groups 5 days a week, hitting refresh on Facebook and Workplace, and looking for agents across the country who are sending somebody to Seattle.
I remember this.
Okay.
And I made six figures every single year for 5 years with this guy just sitting on Facebook hitting refresh until our company switched to a different platform, to Slack, and nobody liked it, and it killed my whole operation. Anyway, well, yeah, aside from that, I thought I was so smart, but it was just a luck. Someone said, "Hey, I got an extra VA. Do you want to be a VA virtual assistant?" And I was like, "Sure." That guy's still with me today. And now he runs one of my businesses. But that being said, we're in the middle of COVID. Life is crazy. Things are going, I'm just selling. And then we start to kind of get, let's say, a year and a half through that. And I thought, man, let's do more. So I started buying a bunch of Zillow, which I've always off and on bought paid leads. But I'm like, let's go hard. Let's drop, I don't know, 10 or 15 grand a month. And all of a sudden, I couldn't handle it. And so I started giving it all to my showing agent. I'm like, here, take these calls. And then she, became a buyer's agent from that. And I had to hire a different showing agent. And all of a sudden, we were still doing good. And I love teams, and I think teams are great. For me, I feel like I probably should have stopped right there. But hindsight's 2020. Nobody knows the future, right? So I was doing so good with like 5 or 6 people that I was like, let's go. I just started bringing on agents, man. I started like 5, 10, 15. I looked up and I had a team of 24 people. Wow. And I think when you're running a small business, whether it's in real estate or otherwise, you either keep it pretty small or you got to go
bigger. Scale. Yeah.
Right? You got to go bigger because the money just doesn't quite work otherwise. And so I figured that out. I got stuck in the middle. And then they raised rates on me, right? 3 years ago, they raised rates to 7%. Half my agents had to go get jobs. I'm left holding the salaries. I ended up owing the IRS $300,000 because I was trying to juggle everything and pay my people, and it just wasn't working. So unfortunately, with tears running down my face, I had to lay off all my friends.
That's tough.
Let all the agents go and all the paid people go. I kept the virtual overseas staff. I rolled some of those agents into an optional coaching program. I'm like, guys, I'll coach you up, but I'm not buying leads anymore. I'm keeping my costs way down. So a lot of them went into a coaching program. And the bottom line is I went back to basics and I said, how can I pay back my debts? I'm not filing bankruptcy. How do I pay back my debts? How do I get back? And not only that, how do I thrive again? And I said, why don't I just do the stuff I know how to do, the stuff I was trying to get my team to do, pick up the phone, follow a calendar. I rebel against the calendar even to this day, but let's do the lead generation activities. And I said, you know what? I still want to make $1 million a year, but I personally am not capable of selling 50 or 80 homes a year. It's just not me. I know some people are. I'm not. So what do I do? So sometimes we start with the end in mind and we work backwards. And for me, it was price point. I am blessed to live in an area with some very high price points. If I'm in the middle of Oklahoma City, this strategy is not going to work. But for me, I remember I sold my house as an early real estate agent to get to the good area. And by the way, when I moved to the good area, those prices were $1 million, maybe 800, 700. Now the good area is 2.8, 3.5. Like,
Yeah.
hey, the good area got expensive. And I happen to live in the good area. And so I'm like, man, let's just do some open houses. So I got a hold of the biggest, baddest builders in town, made friends with all the listing agents. And now every weekend I sit 3 and 4 and $5 million open houses, and I make a lot of money, and I don't have to manage anybody.
That's awesome.
Wow. That's great.
And I'm not
That's
against
good.
the team, but believe me, if I was in a different market, I would have figured out the team thing. But just for me, this is what's working for me is,
Yeah.
there's a lot of ways to success. And I think that if you're a critical thinker and if you're a highly motivated individual, if there's a fork in the road, you can go over it, you can go under it, you can go around it, you can get a hot air balloon. I mean, most people just look at the fork and they're like, stuck. And you're like, there's a million ways, especially in the real estate industry, but in any industry, think about it. You could flip houses. You could be a coach. You could be a builder. You could develop land. You could have a big team, small team, a solo agent. You could own a brokerage. There's just a million. You could start a software company that helps real estate agents do something. So I just figured out, man, what I want to do is sell a bunch of luxury real estate. And then I began to help my friends get their own affordable overseas employees. So I got a business doing that now.
I love that. That
Nice.
is like incredible. And I love the pivot, because that's something that, through this second podcast that we're on and the episode before this, you've pivoted several times. And I think that that's also just a secret weapon, but just a power that when somebody can learn how to pivot and a problem comes and you solve the problem and, create that pivot. That's huge.
When issues come up like that, I think some people dig in and they just want to make it work, right? And sometimes that can work, but I think so many people don't. They're afraid to pivot because it's such a dramatic change. And so they just dig in, and sometimes they're digging in on a losing ship, right? They're going down with the ship, and they just wait way, way, way too long to actually pivot. So that's awesome that you're able to do that, especially in COVID. That hit so many of us so differently.
And scary and different. And
it was terrifying. It was terrifying.
And when that hit and you owed the IRS money, after that, and then the interest rates, Adam, how long did you dwell on that problem?
It was terrifying for 6 months, but ultimately I started digging out and I paid those guys back and some. And because I started making $1 million a year, I'll go back to when I started in real estate. Someone handed me the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book by Gary Keller, 2014. It was written 25 years ago. And 25 years ago, the average price was probably $100,000 for a house, right?
Yeah.
And Gary Keller was like, "Yeah, man, you can make $1 million." And we're all like, "Who's making $1 million when the house is $100,000, right?"
Yeah.
But Gary Keller's like, "Oh, all you gotta do is sell like 5 trillion homes and have like a gazillion agents and get a split." I'm being sarcastic, but it was like
It felt that way.
It was like 200, 300, 400 homes, which that's pretty hardcore. What I figured out by accident was you can also just wait 10 years for prices to triple or double. Did you know that time heals a lot of things? The federal government likes to print money.
That's very true.
So that's what I figured out is like, wait a minute, there's a lot of ways to make money in life.
Right.
And what I would recommend most people do is go try some stuff. If you're going to be in real estate, number one, you got to conquer the first mountain. You know what that mountain is? You got to go make some money.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter how you do it. You want to call your friends and family, handwritten notes, events, YouTube, TikTok. For me, I'm an open house guy. There's one of our friends out in Arizona makes $1 million a year door knocking. Like, you've got to go do something. The second mountain that you're going to face is you're going to want to avoid burnout.
Right.
And this applies to almost every small business. Small business needs to make some money. Now the small business needs to avoid burnout. And that usually means help leverage systems, processes. And that's where, I started a VA company. And so we help people get help from the Philippines that are very smart, very seasoned, 3 years, 10 years experience. We test them for critical thinking skills. They're not perfect. Sometimes we have to trade them out, but for the most part, very reliable. And now a small business owner can have some help. And that's really it. If someone's got making some money and you have some help, now you have the option to keep going down that path and just have a good life, go buy a vacation home in Costa Rica, do your thing, right?
Right.
Or you can start another enterprise and add a virtual assistant to that enterprise, right? Or you can be charitable with your time and donate some of your time for the good of humanity, or donate it to your church or whatever. And so that's really, I think these are the mountains we have to climb, which is you got to go figure something out and you got to get some help. I remember every 3 years in real estate, I would stop and think, should I quit? Should I go back and make phone calls for a big corporation? I really did, because it's exhausting.
Right.
And I think the solution is for every small business is you got to have a way to make consistent money that doesn't go like this. And you need to have some admin help. You got to have some systems. And if you have those three things, it almost feels like you're cheating life, to be honest with you.
Yeah. So it seems like a lot of agents, they go down that road, they start being successful because of doing what they want to do. Then they start to scale a little bit and it all falls apart. And I think a lot of that attributed to you is you've figured out systems and processes. And you've kind of figured that, and I don't know anyone who goes down, like Morgan mentioned earlier, I think in the other episode, that's something that you've just dialed in. And I think we've gone the road of VA in the past. It didn't work as well as we had hoped because we didn't have those processes to the point to where we could just turn that over to them. And so what did you come up with those on your own? Have you kind of cherry picked some from other people? Like, how did you start, or how did you go down that road of creating the system that you have?
That's a great question. I think that it's really more of an example of building the plane in the air. So you're flying the plane and you hear a little wobble on the left wing and we fix it. And now we say to our flight attendant, hey, the next time we land, we have a procedure. We're going to check the wing.
Okay.
That's how the systems are built, is each time you have a problem, you know, as long as it's not a one-time problem. We don't like to build systems for things that are edge cases because that's just going to bloat the system. Yeah. But if it's a problem that repeats itself a few times, or it's very embarrassing, then we got a system. We're not going to be embarrassed again. And so now, in fact, everyone looks at me and says, man, you got your systems dialed in. Every single day I'm communicating with my team with screenshots. Hey, this was great. Hey, this was not the way we do it. Let's change this. Be sure to update the ops manual. We have a very detailed, like 20-page document with but that thing's a living document. So, hey, remember when you send XYZ, it's got to look like XYZ. And I'm in a constant state of tweaking, but that means I also have to compliment my staff, because if all I do is correct, it creates a toxic environment. So I have to be very thoughtful to compliment and correct. But to be honest, I do a lot of correction because it's always these small things. If you're building a system, every quarter that system is outdated.
It's true.
And I'll say a lot of these entrepreneurs I help find and overseas employee don't have the patience to make these little micro corrections, and they get frustrated with their staff that they're not perfect.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've hired plenty of Americans who are not perfect. So
plenty. We have too.
Yeah. So I think when you're an employer, it's very important that you have a basic, you don't even have to have a system, to be honest with you, but just a basic job function. And then we assess, and it's not like you have to take a lot of time, but when you're early in a relationship with an employee, you assess more frequently what's working, maybe on a daily basis, and then it becomes weekly, and then it becomes monthly. I usually won't go beyond monthly. I'm having some interaction with my staff, right? But I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't do. When I have a new employee, we're meeting pretty frequently, but then eventually we have no set one-on-ones. I don't do one-on-ones. I get people in their rhythm where they know what they're up to, and if I send a message, I get a response. If I call, they pick up. If not, we know there's a problem. Like, they better be for me, that's in my business, you better be responsive. But the key to being happy with a good employee is coming up with a very set amount of things that they're doing, and they have to do it well, and they're in charge of their business, and you let them do their business.
One thing I like that you've said, and I mean, it's just kind of built onto that. Us as entrepreneurs, small business owners, real estate agents, all of us, we get going and we get doing well, and we start feeling like we're drowning. You know what I mean? Like you're getting pulled behind a boat and you just start going underwater because you're going so fast. And instead of letting go or slowing down or hitting the brakes, the key to this whole, I think, episode is it's leverage and good leverage. And then when you get good leverage, then you can keep going at that speed, and then you can come out of the water, and then you don't feel like you're drowning. So you're not necessarily doing more work or more, you're just doing more business with great people and great leverage.
Boy, I think that's a really good way to say it. And one thing that I think everyone should think about and write down if they haven't heard this before, but when you're training somebody, whether it's a salesperson or an admin, the best way to do it is I do it and you watch me. You do it and I watch you. And then you do it by yourself. Now, you can accomplish that through videos or training courses or having one of your team be the trainer. But I think ultimately the best way that people learn, even now, because I built out this sophisticated training video thing. I have this whole library with modules and all this stuff. And it sounds like me, right? The average agent needs to talk to me or somebody. And, yes, these modules and trainings help. Right. But the average admin, same thing. They need a little blood, human contact. And I think if you rush through that process, you need to slow down to speed up. And we're not talking about wasting years of your life. We're talking about a couple hours here and there. You got to slow down and invest in your staff in order to get them up to speed. And I think so many people are trying to get rich quick that they rush their salespeople and they rush their admin, and the results suck.
Yeah. I think we've fallen into that trap too. I mean, definitely with our first VA, we just kind of, okay, here's your stuff, let's go for it. And then there wasn't that connection, there wasn't that training, there wasn't that back and forth that needed to happen. And so, yeah, I can see that happening for a lot of people for sure.
Yeah, and if you hire an experienced American or an experienced overseas virtual assistant, they're going to come in with a baseline much, much higher, but they're still going to need a little guidance as to what is your preferred communication style, how do we do it on our team, how is your local state rules, how does that work? And so, if you have someone who's good, the course correction is minor, really. It shouldn't be a big deal, but you still need some of that. Otherwise, you're going to be unhappy. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So great. So right now your personal business, obviously you've started another business, which is fantastic. But so how many VAs are you currently working for you? Just one or two?
And your real estate business?
I have three, but one is 80% on my virtual assistant side now. He works for he runs my virtual assistant, but he's my original guy who's been with me for 6 years. Wow. So I have two. Three. No, I'm sorry. I have four total.
Okay.
I forgot. I just hired somebody. This week. So I have four. I got four. One of them is my main assistant who, launches my listings, writes my offers, follows up on showings, all this stuff, right? Does my travel arrangements. She's amazing. We've got another guy who's a kind of a marketing guy who's doing my newsletters and different things. And then we've got, we just hired a cold caller. Not really cold. We're not doing canceled expireds right now. It's mostly my database.
Okay.
So he's calling through my database. We have some software that goes through my database and kind of uncovers people that might be thinking about buying or selling, whether it be a home value report or something, right? So we have some indicators. So he's calling those. And then we have my main guy, Fidel, who has helped me tremendously throughout. I've moved into every department. Part of that, if you like somebody, is I like to move people, not like every day, but like, let's say every 6 months or every year, kind of move them around. Now this guy is a big time asset to me because he knows my whole business.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, but I'll tell you a funny story is yesterday I was onboarding this cold caller guy, and I'm following my own advice. Is I literally blocked out 2.5 hours to call with him. And I made the calls and I recorded myself and he watched me. And he's got some calling experience, but I said, hey, let's do it. I will do it. And what was great is I've gotten so busy that I have not been making my calls. And I'm the guy that built my business on making the calls.
Right.
And so I've got, people are calling me now. And now the one good thing about me that I do is if someone sends me an agent referral, I'm on it. And I do my open houses. So I'm doing anywhere from 4 to 8 open houses a month, and they're all luxury. So these are the things. So I'm still lead generating. I haven't stopped. And I do take all those names and I put them in the CRM. And then maybe once a week, I'm calling people that weren't ready. So I am doing my stuff, but I'm always behind 20, 30, 40 tasks. I don't call my past clients. I do events. I do 2 events a year, but I make my VA call and invite them. So like, it's not perfect, right? But I'll tell you, when I got on the phone yesterday and I was like, let me show you how to do it, I got a deal.
Wow.
The third phone call I made, it was some guy that met one of my team agents at an open house 4 years ago, and I was like, the software says he might be ready. It was like a score. I guess they look at their life events or something. I don't know. I called him up and I said, hey, is your wife still living in such and such country? Are you still working for such and such? And so he knew it was legit. And because I'm reading the notes, and he goes, I was thinking about buying a home. I hear the prices are down a little bit this year. And I go, yeah, man, this is it. This is your time. Because after the war in Iran, it's going to bounce. Like, this is your moment. And he goes, maybe I should. I go, you want to jump on Zoom? Man, let's look at let's do a little searching together. Let's see if this is your moment. He goes, let's do it. Boom, set an appointment. And I was like, I should do this more. Dude, I was getting an adrenaline rush. I was like, Daddy still got it. I was like, let's go. So anyway, but I'm teaching this guy how to do it. Meanwhile, I'm doing it with him. Like, that's the secret.
Yeah. Well, he's seeing you doing it, seeing how you use, seeing your inflection, seeing how you're focused on them, not on you. I mean, it's just all sorts of things that he can learn from that, right? Even though he's done it before, it's always good to see that other perspective.
For sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So are you going to spend another 2 hours listening to him?
I should. I think you guys caught me. I think I was going to skip that step.
Oh, no.
I think what I was going to do is let him go stumble a little bit, and then I'll listen to him. So I was going to let him like stumble around today and tomorrow and just kind of get his sea legs. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to freak him out or anything. And then maybe Monday, Tuesday, I'll get on and listen in.
Sweet.
Yeah, because we're in a 2-party consent state, so I can't record.
Yeah.
So I have to literally be on there with him. Yeah, but yeah, I need to. That will be a step that has to happen. But I'm doing it a little loosey goosey. I want this guy to go out there and just burn through a few calls and kind of feel comfortable.
Yeah,
so
makes sense.
The VA business. Let's talk about that for a little bit. How many VAs have you helped source out?
I'd have to go back and count, but maybe 25 or 30, something. I don't know. So it's not something that we're going, thousands and thousands. We help right now. We're helping about 1 a week.
Nice.
And it's usually people. It's usually my friends.
Yeah.
We're not running any ads. We're primarily top producing agents and team leaders. We do have a builder, an electrician, a home inspection company. So we have some ancillary businesses. I tried to convince my car, what do you call it, window tinting guy to get a VA.
Oh,
This
yeah.
guy works like 6 days a week and he's taking calls while he's tinting windows. And I'm like, bro, why don't you get a freaking VA, man? Let me get you a low-cost employee. He's like, nobody can quote window tinting like me. I'm like, what? He's like, you know how many kinds of BMWs there are out there? I'm like, have you ever used ChatGPT? He's like, no. I'm like, ChatGPT, give me a list of every kind of BMW and put a price next to it for window tinting. There you go, son. Have your VA read this.
There you go, son.
There you go.
Yeah, so I'm always trying to help small businesses to get some
Yeah, I
help.
love
But
that.
the bottom line is, I run these two in parallel, primarily with real estate agents, and it's about one a week. We are projecting to ramp that up to more like two a week next year, but we're really adding a little bit of staff on my side, little by little, so that we don't sacrifice the customer experience.
Right.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I think that's huge. I love the fact that you're always willing, like the PT story from earlier, and just trying to help people. I love that your mindset goes there every time. It seems like anytime has a, and even when we've talked to you, when we've seen you at meetings or gone to dinner or whatever, it's always like, yeah, you're always like, hey, well, maybe this will work. Maybe this will work. You're always trying to help. And I love that fact though about you. You're always looking ways to help others, which is fantastic. And I think that's part of the reason why you're so successful.
Selling the gap, right?
Dude, it's fixing problems, man. Especially like I'll do it for free. Like if you're gonna pay me, let's go. But yeah, dude, I love fixing things. I'm like, let's go. How can I help? That's why I worked at a nonprofit for a year. So it's like, like that's really the key. I think if we could take one thing out of this, aside from just grinding, it would be, fix the gap. Like help people, ask questions, find out. Let's put it this way. Let's say you call someone who wants to buy. You think they want to buy or sell a house, and you say, "Hey, why are you thinking about buy or sell a house?" I'm not. Do you want to move to Arizona? No. You want a bigger house? I love my house. Do you want a smaller house with less stairs for your knees? I'm 35. I don't need a smaller house with less stairs for my knees. What are you going to say? What's your magic script to sell them a house? It's not going to be possible. Yeah. Like, move on. Stop bugging this poor lady. The best thing to do is to talk to a lot of people and find needs. I told my ISA yesterday, he goes, I got to convince them. I go, you are not going to convince anybody. Please do not convince anybody. Your job is to uncover gold. All you got to do is ask a few questions and look for some opportunities. Your job is not to convince anybody.
I love that. When it comes to your VAs, back to you were talking about how many you've sourced, who could a VA help? A virtual assistant, an affordable employee?
Yep. So a virtual assistant, the simplest and most straightforward role would be an administrative assistant. A secondary role would be a marketing assistant, and a third role would be a sales role, like an ISA. There are plenty of other things that are less common, such as bookkeeping. One of my builders has them looking at plans from the electrician and sorting through vendor invoices. Less common, right? There's people that do QuickBooks.
But really anybody, right? Like any industry could hire a VA and use a VA.
Most small businesses, the big corporations have been the ones who have historically taken advantage of this, like call centers, your credit card companies and all that. But ultimately, the small doctor's offices, when I call my doctor, I get a VA now. And would you like to schedule? I'm like, yes, I would. And I get an appointment. So honestly, my friend at the gym makes fun of me. He's a lawyer. And he goes, you're gutting out the American middle class. I'm like, look, if I had to hire only Americans, I wouldn't hire. I physically don't have the money. I'm not going to hire 3 Americans. You think I have $500,000 laying around for just me? Or like in my area, I got to pay 80 or 90 grand a pop because we're an expensive area. You think I have 300 grand laying around I don't. Right. I would just simply not hire.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're taken away from anything. And in fact, I'm changing lives. My virtual assistants are paid well above their peers locally. They're buying houses, they're paying for cars, they're paying for their kids to go to school. I mean, we're changing people's lives if you want to think about it on those terms. And so, why should small businesses be at such a disadvantage to the big corporation?
Yeah.
We need to have some affordable help too, and you're going to do really good things. Now, I'm not against your Americans. Keep an American if you want,
Right.
but all of a sudden, imagine one American plus two VAs and some AI. You have 10 employees.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, that's the secret.
I love it. So, Adam, we'll definitely tag, your business in this. But I mean, I love it. I love what, just from us talking, we're personally, in the market, to hire the VA, and we're excited to work on that. And I've thought a lot about that, of just the security, behind it, and just the different things that there is, it's just really only upside for us. And especially, I think the security is you, and the help behind of, knowing and having systems. So I encourage anybody watching this or who's looking for any VA, Adam's got a great system, and he's got so many tools. And so anyway, I appreciate you always sharing those.
Yeah, if they'd like to take a look, it's www.whiteglovehiring.com.
Awesome. And we'll have that in the links below as well, so you guys can link right to it.
But, well, Adam, we'll let you go. I know that you've got a lot of work to do, and I appreciate it. And it looks like we're talking next week anyway. So we'll be definitely chatting soon.
Thanks, gentlemen. This has been a pleasure.
Hey, appreciate you, Adam.
Thank you for your story. See ya.